The 10 biggest lies of the enemy and how to combat them. Okay, so today we are starting chapter 4. We're on day 10, and we are tackling lie number 1. The big lie. Lie number 1, I am alone. Okay, the author opens with an example, what we can look for is for him to just give us personal examples that sort of gets us to thinking in that direction, because everybody's life has different stories. We all have different experiences, but there's going to be a common thread here. The lies are the same. They're just manifest in different ways in each of our lives. Okay, they just manifest differently. So the author starts with some personal reflection. He does remind us that 1 Peter 5:8, be sober and vigilant. Your opponent, the devil, is prowling around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Okay, so this is sort of the warning, for us to not be surprised at the entry point, at how the enemy gets in to our lives to establish, so that these lies can take root. There's life circumstances, and that's the entry point, Whenever we have an incident that occurs, that we have these human reactions of like, oh my gosh, I'm alone. Regardless of how that comes to be, this is that entry point. The circumstances of relationships being broken. So, his tactics are designed to make us withdraw from our human connections, okay? To believe that we are alone and to think that no one could possibly understand what we're going through. The more we withdraw, the more vulnerable we come. So most of the time, it's not an isolated incident, any of these lies. It would be similar circumstances that end up remember what we talked about, sort of in that thought pathway. Okay, anything similar that would have us feeling alone or lonely, whether it's the death of someone we cared about, maybe our parents left us, maybe it's a friend. It doesn't take much for Satan to be like, oh yeah, there's my opportunity. Oh yeah, there's my opportunity. So it's not the abandonment itself, he teaches us, but it's the fallout. It's whenever we're processing this, if we don't have help processing these events, and many times we isolate, we don't really share. So the enemy sees that as his opportunity, okay? So he begins to lay down his series of lies, is what the author tells us, hoping that we'll get caught up in one. And, it's like he casts the net and hoping to catch it. He throws a lot of stuff out there, and just knowing that in our fallen nature, many times we isolate. We don't have the tools or the resources or know that we can process through this stuff, then it's just a prime hunting for the enemy, okay? And that's what he does. He hunts. He seeks to prowl. All right? So as it happens over and over again, we come into agreement and we begin to believe this lie. All right? So at the bottom of page 40, the lie that I am alone focuses our energy and anxiety around this experience of abandonment and isolation from others. And the next lie that we're going to tackle it sort of probably stems from the I am alone, is I can only count on myself. And that power causes us to focus almost entirely on ourselves. So I think what the author wants us to do is not to interconnect the two, because they have two different manifestations. They cause two different things in our life. We're going to do two different types of renunciation for that. Although we may have both, okay? It's not like we're just going to deal with one of these lies, okay? You're going to come to realize that you've probably came into agreement with many of them, all right? Don't just pick one. Let's leave ourselves open to let the Lord reveal to us exactly where we've been bound up. So the section about speaking the lie. What does this lie sound like? What does this lie sound like? The people I love always end up leaving me. So, maybe it's death. Maybe it's, divorce. Maybe it's just relationships. Maybe it's your best friend moving. If in any of your life circumstances you can think back to the people that you love and care about, people that you trust, are no longer here for whatever reason, that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity. Maybe they chose drugs or alcohol and that severed that relationship. Maybe there was, marital discord and you're a young child and a parent ends up leaving. There are going to be that abandonment, that feeling of abandonment, especially if you don't know how to process that, because many of these things happen when you're young. When we're young, that will be the entry point, okay? No one understands my pain, my history, or my life. It is better for everyone if I just go away or stay away. I see that a lot, The devil would have you think that no one understands, okay? The devil would have you think that it's better if you just leave so that you're not a bother to anybody, all right? Nobody loves me or wants me, okay? Why bother reaching out or making friends? People are just going to leave me anyway. Think about this. Like, some of these thoughts, especially, it can start pretty subtle, and the more we sort of turn into ourselves and the more situations might happen, these lies may become stronger and more prevalent in our life, okay? God's too busy. God's too big. God's too distant to notice me, listen to me, or care about me. It's the devil that would have us think that God doesn't care about the details of our life. So, the author's just given us examples here of what these lies might sound like. I deserve to be alone, okay? The accuser might tell you that you deserve to be alone. And then I think, when life stuff comes at us sometimes and we don't have good spiritual guidance, or we don't allow ourselves to receive that, we think God has abandoned us, okay? We can become very mad at God. Where was God? Where was God, And we come to believe that God has abandoned us. And the truth, So that's what the lie looks like. So now let's speak some truth here, okay? We live in a culture where there's just all of this buzz and there's all of this interaction and there's always stuff out there. You think about social media, there's a barrage of stuff, yet none of it is personal, and we can feel so alone. I think another thing there is we can get caught up in that being our relationship, that world that's out there, but that's not really a true world, okay? I think that can cause us to really feel alone too, all right? The fact of the matter is that while technology sort of closed this distance between this relationship, we still seek to be, we need this connection with people. We need relationship. We were made for relationship, okay? We have to just realize, am I becoming more isolated than ever? Actually, is what's going on out there? Is that a false community? Is that a false relationship? Okay, we have to be honest with ourselves about that. We have to know that the human heart was created for relationship because God created us, okay? And God is relationship. The very existence of God is relationship. And He created us in His image and in His likeness. There's a great piece on page 42 that sort of speaks to that miracle of the Trinity, that mystic part of the Trinity. We'll never be able to completely understand the relationship between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, but we can try, okay? We'll never understand it until we are with God in heaven, all right? But we can try, and there's a beautiful couple chapters that sort of, a beautiful couple of paragraphs here that just sort of tries to explain that divine relationship, but all that to say is that relationship of love is what created us, okay? Because He wanted to create us, not out of necessity, not because there wasn't enough, but because it's this fullness. We have to come to believe that we were created by God, who created absolutely everything. And You may have been an accident to your parents. You may have not been planned to the people who are in the human form responsible for your creation, but you were not an accident to God, okay? You were not an accident to God. He created you. He knit you in your mother's womb. He spoke you into existence, okay? You were not an accident. No, the creator of the universe, who created the trees, who makes the winds blow, who created the birds, he created you. He thought the world needed you. Okay, so you may not understand your purpose. You may not understand why you're here, but he created you. He created you because he wanted to. That's it. He didn't need another reason. He didn't need another reason. He just created you because he wanted to. He loved you into existence. I highlighted that. He loved you into existence. And he alone knows how to love you perfectly. He alone knows how to love you perfectly. And because of that, we're never alone. We're never alone, okay? I think it's important on page 43 that we recognize our being, okay? We're not made like the angels. It's a common misconception, and I think we go to that whenever people pass from this earthly life. We call them our angels, but we're not. Humans are not angelic beings, okay? When people pass on from this life and they go to heaven, they're saints because they have the body, okay? Angelic beings are purely spirit. Angels are purely spirit. And we're fashioned, we have both body and soul. So we're made uniquely. We're not made like the angels, and we're not made like the animals. We're made humans in his image and in his likeness, okay? So it's not an accident. I underlined it and I circled it. It's so important. We have to let that seep into our being that we are not an accident. We are not an accident. And he created us in a special way, and we need a place, and our place is in this world, okay? A place to live and move and have our being, okay? To be in relationship, in perfect relationship with the one who made us. Now that was severed in the garden, and we know that. But because of that, what happened? God immediately began to try to reconcile us back to himself. And he sent his son Jesus to do that, okay? He sent his son Jesus. God became human. He became human to be one of us. He suffered like us in every way. He suffered like us in every way. Every emotion that you've ever felt, Jesus felt. Every joy, every darkness, everything. And that relationship that we need, that relationship that is going to guide us through this world, is that relationship with Jesus. We're never alone. People might always let us down, but we're never, never, never alone. And we have to seek him first. Seek him first. If we can have that relationship with Jesus, if we can have that relationship, all the other relationships, he will order those other relationships, okay? And it is our it's written in our hearts to known and be known. And we can't forget who the accuser is. The accuser is the one who comes and breathes these lies, okay? He's just going to do that. We have to come to recognize his voice and what the voice of the accuser sounds like, okay? We have to come to recognize that. And Satan may use people who are supposed to love you to do that, all right? He just might. But when we encounter the truth, which is written into our very being, Satan is going to try to come along and to just distort that. That's just what he does, okay? But a lie can never withstand the power of truth. So, I guess we're talking here just like when Adam and Eve turned away from God, okay? Jesus came. His radical statement, he would not allow anything to come between him and his beloved. Nothing, no thing will come between you and God. No thing, nothing. That's why we got to get into the word. We have to begin to believe what God would have us believe. Okay? The world would tell you lies. The world will tell you lies. We have to come to believe. You know, you either believe in the truth of Scripture or you don't. It's not just the truth for him, her, and everybody else. This is for us. Speak that over your life. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me. Okay? Jesus came for us, okay? God cares about every detail of our life and every suffering, all right? We are never alone. We are never, never, never alone. Jesus, think about him on the cross. Think about his wounds, okay? Go back a couple days and just look at those images, okay? Everything that we have ever felt, everything, he's already bore all of that, okay? He knows. We can take every burden that we have to him, and he's going to walk this journey with us, okay? That's the lie and that's the truth, all right? Open yourself up today to receive his truth. Sit back, take a position, take a body, like open your body up to receive the truth of heaven. Go into a place where you're comfortable to do that, okay? Press into this today. We can draw in on ourselves, all right? Our body language speaks a lot. You can draw in on yourself. In your prayer time, open yourself up to receive this truth. Let this truth wash over you to wash the lies away, you guys. Trust in him. Trust in him, all right? There's a lie that I am alone, and then there's the truth of Christ, okay? Let's press into that today. Tomorrow, we're going to unsheath the sword of the Spirit. All right? God bless you all. He loves you. He loves you outrageously. He loves you perfectly. He will never leave you nor forsake you. See you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.